You've met him. Maybe you've even been him. The one with fire in his eyes, constellations in his mind. A man full of vision, passion, and endless potential. He is the artist whose studio is perpetually just shy of its masterpiece. The entrepreneur whose revolutionary idea remains a brilliant sketch on a coffee-stained napkin. He is the lover who speaks of epic journeys and profound connections, yet remains anchored in the harbor of someday. He dreams of great novels, revolutionary startups, and perfect love. His conversations are a tapestry woven with threads of grand ambition and breathtaking possibilities. He talks of the mountains he will climb, the companies he will build, the life-changing book he will write. You listen, captivated, caught in the gravitational pull of his certainty. He paints the future with such vivid strokes that you can almost see it, feel it, taste it. His world is one of boundless horizons where every dawn promises a new beginning, a fresh start on the path to greatness. But time passes, and nothing truly materializes. The canvas remains blank, the business plan unwritten, the epic journey a fading footnote in a forgotten travel brochure. The vibrant colors of his promised future begin to wash out, leaving behind the pale, unchanging gray of the present. The fire in his eyes, once a blazing inferno of ambition, now flickers like a distant, hesitant candle. The initial burst of energy and excitement that once defined him gives way to a quiet, persistent inertia. The mountains remain unclimbed, the novels unwritten, the love unrealized. His life becomes a gallery of beautiful, unfinished portraits. The eternal boy is not just a person, but a pattern, a psychological archetype. He is the Puer Aeternus, the Latin term for eternal boy, a concept brought into modern psychology by Carl Jung. This archetype represents a certain type of man who remains psychologically an adolescent, unwilling or unable to transition into the responsibilities and realities of adulthood. He lives in a world of fantasy and potential, forever on the verge of becoming, but never actually being. He clings to the freedom and boundless promise of youth, fearing that commitment to a career, a relationship, or a single tangible goal will clip his wings and trap him in the mundane. This isn't a simple case of laziness. It is a deep-seated psychological conflict between the allure of infinite possibility and the demanding, finite nature of reality. He is Peter Pan, terrified of growing up, forever seeking his Neverland, while the real world, with all its challenges and rewards, passes him by. Ever feel like you know someone who's bursting with potential, a true dreamer, but they just never seem to land? They're always talking about the next big thing, the amazing idea they have, but it always stays just an idea. Well, the brilliant psychologist Carl Jung had a name for this pattern, the Puer Aeternus, or in plain English, the eternal child. This isn't about age. You could be 20 or 60 and still be caught in this pattern. The Puer Aeternus is the person who lives for pure possibility, not for messy, complicated reality. They're like a pilot who loves the feeling of being up in the clouds, soaring through endless blue sky, but absolutely dreads the thought of bringing the plane down for a landing. The landing is where life happens. It's commitment. It's routine. It's the hard work of turning a dream into something real. But for the eternal child, that feels like a trap. Think about it. Have you ever heard these lines? Oh, I was going to start that business, but the timing just wasn't right. Or maybe I wrote a screenplay, but the world just isn't ready for it yet. Or my personal favorite, I'll get serious about my career after I travel a bit more and find myself. These sound like reasonable explanations, right? But more often than not, they're sophisticated excuses. They're clever ways to keep the dream pure and perfect, untouched by the grubby hands of reality. Because in reality, things can fail. Things can be disappointing. It's much safer to keep it all as a beautiful what if. So what's really going on beneath all these excuses? It's fear. It's a deep, profound resistance to the responsibility of growing up. Not growing old, but growing *up*. This means facing limitations, making commitments, and accepting that choosing one path means not choosing others. For the Puer Aeternus, this feels like a kind of death. Every choice, every commitment feels like closing a door on a million other possibilities. The thought of settling into a single career, a single relationship, or a single city can feel suffocating. They want to keep all their options open forever. But here's the paradox. By refusing to land, by avoiding the fullness of adult life, the eternal child isn't truly living. They're hovering asterisk above asterisk life. They're observing it, dreaming about it, but not fully participating in it. It's like standing in a buffet, starving but being so overwhelmed by all the choices that you never actually put any food on your plate. Life passes by, and the potential that once seemed so bright begins to fade. The excitement of possibility slowly curdles into the bitterness of regret. The cure isn't to stop dreaming. The world needs dreamers. The cure is to have the courage to bring one of those dreams down to earth, to pick one, just one, and commit to it. To accept the imperfections, to do the boring work, to face the possibility of failure, and to build something real. That is where true life is found. It's not in the endless sky of possibility, but right here, on the ground, with the rest of us. Have you ever had a brilliant idea? A dream so perfect in your mind that you could almost taste it? Maybe it's a novel, a business, or a masterpiece you plan to paint. You've thought about it for months, maybe even years. It feels amazing, doesn't it? In your head, that dream is flawless. It's a guaranteed success, a standing ovation, a bestseller. But here's the tough question. What have you actually done about it? If the answer is not much, you're not alone. Welcome to the safe illusion of dreams. This is a cozy, comfortable place where our ideas are pure, perfect, and completely untouched by the messy, unpredictable nature of reality. In our imagination, we are heroes. We never make mistakes, we never face criticism, and we never, ever fail. This is the playground of what psychologist Carl Jung called the Puer Aeternus, or the eternal youth. This archetype lives in a world of infinite potential. They cling to the fantasy of what asterisk could be asterisk because it's a world they can completely control. In this mental sandbox, every business plan is genius, every song is a hit, and every relationship is a fairy tale. Why? Because none of it has been tested. It's a pristine, idealized version of success, without any of the sweat, tears, or struggle. The moment you decide to take action, everything changes. The moment you write that first sentence, make that first sales call, or put that first brushstroke on the canvas, the perfect illusion begins to crumble. Action invites friction. It introduces the possibility of imperfection, the sting of rejection, and the heavy weight of responsibility. Suddenly, your brilliant idea might not be so brilliant. You might face setbacks. You might even fail. And for the pure, that is terrifying. Failure in the real world feels final. It feels like a judgment on your worth. In the world of dreams, however, you can just reboot. You can scrap the idea and start a new fantasy, one that's even grander and more perfect than the last. This cycle of endless potential without any actualization is a trap. It keeps us stuck, dreaming of a life we're too afraid to live. We prefer the tantalizing fantasy of what could be over the difficult, often frustrating struggle of what asterisk is asterisk. Think about it. Building something real is messy. It involves trial and error. It requires you to show up on the days you don't feel like it, to face your own limitations, to be okay with producing something that's good enough instead of perfect. The person who stays in the dream world is protecting their ego. If you never try, you can never truly fail. You can always tell yourself, oh, if I had really gone for it, I would have been a huge success. It's a comforting lie, but it's a lie that robs you of a real life. The alternative is to embrace the mess. It's to understand that the first draft will be terrible, the first prototype will be clunky, and the first attempt will be awkward. But that's where life actually happens. Growth doesn't occur in the pristine gallery of your imagination. It happens in the muddy trenches of action. Every successful person you admire has a long history of failures and imperfect attempts they pushed through. They chose the struggle of reality over the comfort of a fantasy. So, what about that perfect dream of yours? Are you willing to let it get a little dirty? Are you willing to risk it being less than perfect in order to make it real? The safety of your imagination is an illusion. The real adventure, the real growth, and the real satisfaction lie on the other side of that first terrifying step into the messy, imperfect, and beautiful arena of reality. Have you ever met someone who seems eternally young, flitting from one passion to the next, always chasing the next bright, shiny object? They're charming, they're exciting, but when it comes to settling down, whether in a career or a relationship, they vanish. What's really going on behind that youthful facade? Let's dive into the emotional core of this archetype, a world ruled by immaturity and fear. At the very heart of this behavior is a profound emotional immaturity. It's not about being childish in a fun, playful way. It's about being emotionally stuck at an adolescent stage, unable to handle the complexities and demands of adult life. For this person, the very idea of commitment feels like stepping into a cage. The bars aren't made of iron, but of expectations, routines, and promises. To them, committing to one person or one path means closing the door on a million other possibilities, and that feels like a kind of death. Then, there's responsibility. For most of us, responsibility is just a part of life. It's what helps us build a future, create stability, and contribute to the world. But for this archetype, responsibility feels like a direct threat. It's a heavy weight they believe will crush their spirit. Think about it. A stable job means showing up every day, meeting deadlines, and being accountable. A serious relationship means considering another person's needs and feelings. These are seen not as opportunities for growth, but as anchors that will drag them down into the murky depths of a boring, predictable existence they desperately want to avoid. And what about intimacy? True intimacy requires vulnerability, trust, and the courage to let someone see the real you, flaws and all. But for someone driven by fear, intimacy feels like a total loss of freedom. Getting close to someone means being known, being seen. And if you're seen, you can be judged. If you're known, you have something to lose. So, they keep things on the surface. The connection might be passionate and intense initially, but it remains shallow. The moment it starts to deepen, the moment real emotional investment is required, they pull back. The fear of being trapped or losing their precious independence is just too strong. This deep-seated fear propels them into a life of constant motion. They drift. They go from job to job, always searching for the one that will feel less like work and more like play. Never staying long enough to build real skills or a career. They drift from lover to lover, captivated by the thrill of the chase and the novelty of a new person. But they leave before the initial excitement fades and the real work of a relationship begins. They even drift from idea to idea, starting new projects with incredible enthusiasm, only to abandon them when the first major obstacle appears. In essence, this person is addicted to beginnings. The start of anything is pure potential. A new job is a clean slate. A new relationship is a world of romantic possibility. A new project is the next big thing. Beginnings are easy, they are hopeful, they are a fantasy. But what they are allergic to is the follow-through. The follow-through is where the real work happens. It's the messy middle part, the part that requires patience, perseverance, and grit. And that's exactly what they run from. They are masters of the first chapter, but they never stick around to see how the story ends. Understanding this emotional core isn't about judging them. It's about recognizing the fear that fuels their seemingly carefree lifestyle. It's a life lived in escape, a constant run from the very things that create a deep and meaningful existence. Recognizing this pattern, either in ourselves or in others, is the first step toward breaking the cycle and choosing a path of genuine growth and connection. Ever met someone who seems to have this magical ability to stay forever young? You know, that fun-loving, adventurous spirit who's always jumping into new experiences but never quite finishes anything? Today, we are re-diving deep into the idea of the perpetual child and how it affects not just them but everyone around them. It's pretty wild, right? This whole refusal to grow up can send shockwaves through relationships, responsibilities, and even the overall vibe of a group. So what does it really mean to embrace adulthood while keeping that spark of youthful energy alive? It's all about finding that sweet spot, and trust me, it can be a bit tricky to navigate. You want to enjoy life and all its adventures, but at the same time, you've got to face those adulting responsibilities. Balancing the two is definitely a challenge, but oh man, when you get it right, it's totally worth it. Let us explore how we can keep that playful spirit while stepping up to the plate in life. It's a journey, and I'm excited to share it with you. It's a familiar story. We meet them, and we're drawn in by their energy, their spontaneity, their big dreams. They're always on the move, chasing the next exciting idea, the next thrilling experience. It feels like progress, like life is a whirlwind of exciting beginnings. But if you look closer, you'll notice a pattern. Their life is a gallery of unfinished projects, a library of half-read books, a history of relationships that started with fireworks but fizzled out before they ever truly began. The longer someone remains this boy or girl, the more the bill adds up. For them, it's a life of constant motion that's mistaken for genuine progress. They live in a world of fantasy, where the idea of success feels just as good as actual achievement. They dream of writing a novel, but never get past chapter 1. They plan an epic trip, but never buy the ticket. This constant cycle of starting and stopping leads to a deep, often unacknowledged sense of emptiness. Their life is full of potential, but devoid of the satisfaction that comes from seeing something through to the end. And what about the people who love them? Friends, partners, and family often bear the emotional cost. You become the responsible one, the planner, the one who has to clean up the mess when their impulsive decisions inevitably lead to complications. You invest your time, your emotions, and your support, only to be left behind when their attention shifts to the next new thing. It's not malicious on their part, but it's deeply hurtful. Their avoidance of responsibility, their fear of commitment, leaves a trail of confusion and disappointment. You end up feeling like just another project they started and abandoned. This isn't about judging anyone. The fear of taking on adult responsibilities is real and understandable. The world can be a daunting place. But true fulfillment doesn't come from running away from challenges. It comes from facing them. It's about learning that commitment isn't a cage, but a foundation upon which a meaningful life is built. It's the difference between building a sandcastle that washes away with the tide and building a home that can weather any storm. So, how do we break the cycle? It starts with self-awareness. Recognizing that constant motion isn't the same as moving forward. It means understanding that true freedom isn't the absence of responsibility, but the power to choose what you commit to. It's about taking small, deliberate steps toward completion. Finish that book. Complete that online course. See that one project through to the very end, even if it's not perfect. The feeling of accomplishment, of having created something tangible, is far more rewarding than the fleeting thrill of a fantasy. For those who love a perpetual child, it means setting boundaries. It's about encouraging them without enabling their avoidance. You can't force someone to grow up, but you can protect your own peace and refuse to be a casualty of their indecision. Ultimately, growing up isn't about losing your inner child. It's about learning how to be a responsible adult for that child. It's about giving yourself the stability and security you need to truly thrive, not just survive. It's a journey from fantasy to fulfillment, from motion to real, lasting progress. Ever wondered why some people, no matter their age, seem stuck in a state of perpetual youth, always chasing the next big thing but never quite landing? They're brilliant, full of potential, but commitment, that's a different story. The psychologist Carl Jung had a fascinating term for this, the Puer Aeternus, or the eternal child. But what's really going on beneath the surface? The deeper cause often lies in something missing, the father archetype. Now let's be clear, we're not just talking about a person's actual father, we're talking about the inner father. This is the part of our psyche that provides structure, discipline, and a sense of grounded authority. It's the internal voice that says, okay, enough dreaming. It's time to build, or this is hard, but it's worth it. So let's stick with it. It's the part of us that helps us turn our soaring ideas into real-world achievements. When this inner father is underdeveloped or absent, a person can feel like they're floating. They drift through life on a sea of possibilities, which sounds wonderful, but it's also incredibly disorienting. They have a deep, often unconscious longing for guidance. They crave a mentor, a strong leader, someone to show them the way. Yet here's the paradox. The moment anyone tries to impose any kind of structure or control, they resist. They run. Why? Because they haven't learned to differentiate between healthy guidance and oppressive control. To them, any form of commitment, whether it's to a job, a relationship, or even a single city, feels like a cage. It feels like a threat to their freedom, their boundless potential. The idea of staying, of putting down roots, is terrifying. So they flee from anything that asks them to stay. They jump from project to project, relationship to relationship, place to place, always searching for that perfect frictionless ideal that, let's be honest, doesn't really exist. The problem is, you can't grow without roots. Tree can't reach the sky if it's not firmly planted in the ground. The inner father is what helps us plant those roots. It teaches us that true freedom isn't the absence of responsibility, but the power to choose our commitments and see them through. It's the discipline to build something lasting, something real. Without it, the Puer Aeternus is destined to remain a child of potential. Forever looking for a map but refusing to follow any of the roads. Developing this inner father means consciously choosing to build structure in our lives. It's about setting goals and sticking to them, even when it's boring. It's about embracing the discomfort of commitment because we understand it as the only path to genuine growth and fulfillment. It's about learning to parent ourselves, to provide the stability and direction we may have been missing. It's a challenging journey, but it's the one that transforms the eternal child into a whole and grounded adult, capable of not just dreaming, but building their dreams into reality. Have you ever met someone who seems to live in a state of perpetual possibility? They're always on the verge of starting that business, writing that book, or moving to a new country. They talk a big game about freedom, about not wanting to be tied down by a mortgage, a 9-to-5 job, or even a serious relationship. They believe they are the masters of their own destiny, free from the constraints that hold everyone else back. But what if I told you this so-called freedom is actually a beautifully decorated cage? This is the classic paradox of the Puer Aeternus, or the eternal youth. It's a psychological archetype that describes someone who remains in an adolescent state. It's unwilling to embrace the challenges and responsibilities of adult life. They see responsibility not as a cornerstone of a meaningful existence, but as a trap. So, they run. They avoid commitment. They avoid difficult decisions. They avoid anything that feels too permanent. Call this keeping their options open. In reality, it's just avoidance. Think about it. True freedom isn't about having an infinite number of choices. If you stand at a crossroads with 1,000 paths, and you spend your entire life just looking at the map, afraid to choose one for fear of missing out on the others, have you really gone anywhere? No, you're paralyzed. You've traded the freedom of movement for the illusion of potential. True freedom is the ability to choose your path, to commit to it, and to own the consequences of that choice, for better or for worse. It's about choosing your own set of golden handcuffs, the responsibilities you willingly take on because they give your life purpose and direction. The person chasing this illusion of freedom is always waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect partner, the perfect opportunity. They live for a hypothetical tomorrow that never arrives. They're like a ship with no anchor, drifting aimlessly at the mercy of the currents. They might feel a sense of liberation for a while, but eventually the drift becomes aimlessness. The aimlessness becomes despair. They want all the options in the world, but by refusing to choose any, they end up with none. They have no career to build on, no deep relationships to nurture them, no foundation to call their own. So how do we break free from this illusion? It starts by understanding that responsibility isn't a burden. It's a privilege. It's the engine of growth. It's choosing to commit to a career, a person, or a cause is what builds character. It's what forges a life of substance. Every time you say yes to one thing, you are, by necessity, saying no to others. And that's okay. That's not a loss of freedom. It's the exercise of freedom. It's you, consciously and deliberately, building your own world instead of just dreaming about all the worlds you could possibly live in. The real adventure isn't in endlessly swiping through life's options. The real adventure begins when you pick a door, turn the key, and walk through it with courage and conviction. It's about planting a seed and tending to it, watching it grow into something beautiful and strong. That's where you find not the illusion of freedom, but the profound, grounding reality of a life well lived. Don't live for a tomorrow that's always just out of reach. Start building your today. Have you ever felt paralyzed by having too many choices? You stand at a crossroads with dozens of paths branching out before you, each promising a different adventure, a different life, and instead of picking one, you just stand there. That's the trap of endless possibility, a subtle but powerful force that can keep us from ever truly living. Let's talk about a character. Let's call him Alex. Alex fears limits more than anything. To him, choosing one career path means giving up on being an artist, a world traveler, or a tech entrepreneur. Committing to one person feels like closing the door on all the other potential soulmates out there. He sees every decision not as a step forward, but as a loss, the death of 1,000 other potential lives he could have lived. His mantra is keep your options open. It sounds like freedom, doesn't it? But is it really? He hops from job to job, never staying long enough to gain mastery. He dates casually, always keeping an emotional distance, just in case someone better comes along. He dabbles in a dozen hobbies, but never masters one. He's always searching, always exploring, but never ever committing. Imagine a plant. For a plant to grow strong, it needs to set down roots, needs to commit to a patch of soil, draw nutrients from it, and anchor itself against the storms. If you keep pulling a sapling out of the ground to find better soil, what happens? Its roots never take hold. It withers. It never gets the chance to grow tall, to bear fruit, or to bloom. Alex is that plant without roots. He's constantly searching for new soil, convinced the next patch will be the perfect one. But in his endless search, he never allows himself to grow. He's so afraid of the walls of a single garden that he's ended up living in a barren desert of his own making. This is the great paradox. The very freedom he cherishes has become his prison. His fear of being trapped by one choice has trapped him in a state of permanent indecision. Life becomes a blurry montage of beginnings, with no middle and no end. He's a tourist in his own life, sampling everything but savoring nothing. The potential he was so desperate to preserve has started to curdle into regret. He looks back, not at a life lived, but at a gallery of ghosts, the people he could have been, the lives he could have had if only he dared to choose one. But here's the beautiful truth. Commitment isn't a cage, it's a canvas. When you finally choose a path, you're not losing all the others. You're giving yourself the space and the focus to create something meaningful. Choosing a career doesn't mean you stop learning. It means you can dig deeper, innovate, and become an expert. Committing to a relationship doesn't mean the end of adventure. It means you have a partner to share it with, building a depth of connection that casual encounters can never offer. Limits are not the enemy of growth. They are the architects of it. A river only has power because it flows between two banks. Without them, it's just a shallow, stagnant swamp. Our choices, our commitments, these, are the banks that channel our energy and give our lives direction, purpose, and force. So if you feel like you're stuck in the trap of endless possibility, maybe it's time to choose. Pick a path. Any path. Plant your roots. Water that choice with your time, your energy, and your focus. It might feel scary. You might worry you're making the wrong decision. But the truth is, the only truly wrong decision is to make no decision at all. Because it is only when we commit to a piece of ground that we finally give ourselves the chance to bloom. Have you ever met someone who just seems to have it all together? They're charming, funny, always have a new exciting story to tell, and their energy is infectious. On the surface, they look like the definition of success and happiness. But sometimes what we see is only a fraction of the real story. Behind that sparkling smile and endless stream of brilliant ideas, there can be a quiet, hidden despair. It's a subtle sadness, a weight that isn't immediately obvious, but it's there, lurking just beneath the surface of their vibrant personality. This feeling often comes from a deep personal place. It's the nagging awareness that they're not quite living up to their own potential. They see a version of themselves in their mind, successful, fulfilled, and making a real impact. But when they look in the mirror, the person staring back doesn't quite match up. This person is incredibly talented, bursting with potential, and they know it. That's what makes it so tough. They are their own harshest critic, constantly aware of the gap between the life they could be living and the one they are currently in. It's like standing at the base of a mountain you know you can climb, but for some reason, you just can't seem to take that first step. So, what do they do with this feeling? How do they cope with this internal conflict? Instead of facing it head-on, which can feel overwhelming and scary, they often choose the path of escape. This escape isn't always obvious. It takes the form of constant distraction. They dive headfirst into a whirlwind of new projects, new hobbies, new ideas, and sometimes even new relationships. Each new venture brings a fresh rush of excitement, a temporary high that masks the underlying emptiness. It's like putting a colorful bandage on a deep wound. The new idea is a brilliant distraction. The new romance, a thrilling adventure. For a moment, they feel alive and purposeful again. But these are just temporary fixes. Once the novelty wears off and the initial excitement fades, that old familiar feeling of dissatisfaction creeps back in. The project they were so passionate about last week now seems boring. The person they were so captivated by now has flaws they can't ignore. The cycle repeats, and they're off again. Chasing the next shiny object, the next big thing that promises to finally make them feel whole. They become masters of starting things, but rarely see them through to the end. Because completion would mean they have to sit with themselves, without a distraction to hide behind. This creates a haunting cycle. They are constantly haunted by the gap between what they dream of being and who they really are in their day-to-day life. It's a painful paradox. They are dreamers, visionaries, with a world of possibilities inside their head. But in reality, they feel stuck, unable to bring those grand visions to life. This isn't about a lack of ability. It's about a fear of failure, a fear of not being good enough, and a fear of confronting the quiet despair that drives their constant need for escape. The more they run, the wider the gap becomes, the heavier the feeling of not living up to their own brilliant potential. If any of this sounds familiar, either in yourself or someone you know, please remember it's okay not to be okay. Recognizing this pattern is the first, most powerful step towards breaking the cycle. It takes immense courage to stop running and face what's really going on inside. True fulfillment doesn't come from the next distraction. It comes from learning to close that gap, step by step. By being a little kinder to yourself and taking small, consistent actions towards the person you dream of being, you have it in you. It's time to stop escaping and start building. Ever feel like growing up means you have to kill the fun, spontaneous part of yourself? That to be a responsible adult, you have to say goodbye to the kid who dreamed big, played freely, and saw magic everywhere? I used to think that way. I thought maturity was a trade-off, where you swapped wonder for wisdom and creativity for spreadsheets. But what if that's completely wrong? The great psychoanalyst Carl Jung had a revolutionary idea about this. He suggested that true maturity isn't about destroying the boy within. It's about integrating him. Think about that for a second. Not killing, but integrating. It's a game changer. This isn't about an internal battle where one side has to lose. It's about creating a team. So what does this actually look like? It means you don't have to lose that incredible creativity, that sense of wonder, or that playful spirit that makes life vibrant and exciting. The goal is to bring those amazing qualities into your adult life and ground them in reality. You keep the spark, but you learn how to build a fire with it. You hold on to the ability to dream, but you also develop the discipline and strategy to make those dreams happen. Imagine your adult self and your inner child, or the boy within, walking together. For a long time, maybe you saw this kid as a problem. He was too impulsive, too naive, too emotional. So you tried to lock him away, telling him to be quiet so the real adult could handle things. But what happens when you do that? Life becomes gray. Work feels like a grind. Responsibilities feel like a cage. You lose your passion. Integration is about your mature self turning to that inner kid and saying, "Hey, I need you. Your energy, your ideas, your joy. They're my superpower." The adult teaches the boy how to navigate the real world, how to deal with disappointment, and how to understand consequences. The adult provides the structure, the wisdom, and the patience. In return, the boy reminds the adult how to play, how to be curious, and how to not take everything so seriously. He's the source of your best, most innovative ideas. He's the one who dares you to take a risk on a new project, learn a new skill just for fun, or laugh uncontrollably at something silly. He's the one who remembers the why behind all your hard work. This is the path to becoming a whole person. The adult learns to walk beside the boy, not to run from life's gravity, but to dance with it. You don't float away into fantasy, and you don't get crushed by the weight of reality. You learn to be both grounded and light. You have the wisdom of experience and the fresh eyes of innocence. So the next time you feel that pull between being responsible and being joyful, remember it's not a choice you have to make. Invite that kid inside to come along for the ride. Ask for his opinion. Let him color outside the lines a little. You might be surprised at the masterpiece you create together. True strength isn't about erasing parts of yourself. It's about bringing them all together in harmony. Do you ever feel a pang of nostalgia? A worry that growing up means losing something precious? That the moment you trade late-night talks for early morning meetings, you're somehow betraying the vibrant, idealistic person you used to be? I think we all feel that. There's this myth that adulthood is a grayscale version of the full-color world of our youth. But what if that's not true? What if growing up isn't about betraying your youth, but about finally giving it a purpose? Think about it. The energy, the passion, the wild, untamed dreams of your younger self, that's not something to be discarded. It's the fuel for the journey ahead. What a truly grow up is to learn how to channel that incredible, chaotic energy into the very real, sometimes heavy landscape of adult life. It's taking the fire you felt at 17 and learning how to build a hearth with it, a source of warmth and light that can sustain you through the longest nights. It's about bringing that youthful spirit, that belief that anything is possible, into the weight of real responsibility, real relationships, and real challenges. That's not a betrayal, that's an upgrade. We all have dreams, right? When we're young, they feel like these enormous, beautiful constellations in the sky. But dreams are just the seeds. A seed is full of potential, but on its own, it's just a tiny, dormant promise. It can become a towering tree or bear fruit unless it's planted in the soil. And that soil is made of hard work, of showing up when you don't feel like it, of pushing through the struggle and the setbacks. It's made of commitment. Your dream doesn't just magically happen. You build it day by day, choice by choice. The struggle isn't a sign that your dream is failing. It's the process of its roots taking hold. The work is what transforms the dream from a fleeting idea into a tangible reality. This brings us to one of the biggest paradoxes of growing up: freedom. We spend our youth craving freedom. The freedom to do what we want, when we want. But we often mistake that for a life without ties, without obligations. We think freedom is the ability to walk away from anything and anyone. But let me ask you, is a ship that just drifts aimlessly on the ocean truly free, or is it simply lost? Freedom without responsibility isn't freedom at all. It's a form of exile. It's floating in a void, disconnected, and without purpose. It's a lonely freedom of having nothing to fight for, nothing to protect, nothing to build. True, meaningful freedom is something else entirely. It's found not in running away, but in the courage to stay. It's the freedom to choose your commitments and honor them. It's the courage to build a life, a career, a family, even when it's difficult and messy. It's the strength to love someone or something despite its imperfections, and to love yourself through your own. True freedom is planting your feet firmly on the ground and saying, "This is where I stand. This is what I will nurture. This is what I will fight for." It's not about finding a perfect life. It's about having the courage to create a meaningful one from the imperfect pieces you've been given. That is the real call to growth. It's not about leaving youth behind, but about finally giving it a home. Have you ever felt like you're perpetually on the verge of starting your real life? That feeling that your best self is just around the corner, waiting for one more piece to fall into place? We've spent this entire series exploring a powerful, often hidden figure who lives inside so many of us, the eternal boy. He's not just a character in a story. He's a mirror. When you look into that mirror, what do you see? You might see the part of you that craves endless possibility, the part that whispers, "Don't get tied down, don't commit, keep your options open." This is the voice of the eternal boy. He worships potential, so much so that he's terrified of making any single potential a reality. Why? Because choosing one path means not choosing all the others. He fears limits, he rejects roots, and he runs from the very things that give life its depth and meaning: commitment, responsibility, and the messy, beautiful work of building something real. He's the part of us that stays in a dead-end job because leaving is too scary. He's the one who sabotages relationships just as they get serious because vulnerability feels like a trap. He's the artist who has a dozen unfinished canvases, because finishing one means it can be judged it's no longer a perfect idea, but a flawed, tangible thing. This isn't just a male archetype, it's a human one. It's the universal fear of being pinned down, of being defined, of failing. But here's the crucial truth. Until we turn and face that reflection, until we acknowledge the eternal boy within us, we can never truly live. We remain ghosts in our own lives, drifting from one half-hearted attempt to the next, always planning, never doing. Life becomes a series of what-ifs, and some days, we live in a future that never arrives, mourning a past that we never fully inhabited. The present moment, it just slips through our fingers unnoticed. The antidote to this paralysis isn't some grand heroic gesture. It's not about finding the perfect moment to finally begin. That's the eternal boy's trick convincing you that the conditions aren't quite right yet. The time to begin is not someday. It's not after you get the promotion or move to a new city or feel ready. The time to begin is now. Right now. In the mess. In the uncertainty. The middle of your imperfect, complicated, and gloriously real life. Living isn't about escaping limitations. It's about creating meaning within them. It's about planting roots, even if you're scared of being stuck. It's about choosing a partner, a project, a path, and pouring your heart into it, knowing it won't be perfect. The real magic isn't in the infinite potential. It's in the grounded beauty of what you actually build. It's in the calluses on your hands from working on a craft, the shared history you build with a loved one, the community you nurture. So look in the mirror one more time. See the eternal boy. Thank him for his desire to protect you from pain and disappointment. But then, gently tell him that you're taking the wheel now. You're choosing to engage with life, not just observe it. You're choosing to build, to commit, to love, and yes, to risk failure. Because the greatest failure of all is to never have truly tried, to never have truly lived. Your real life isn't waiting for you somewhere in the future. It's right here, asking you to show up. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. It has meant the world to explore these ideas with you. If this series has resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content on living a deeper, more meaningful life. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, be well.